Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of series 3 of Around the World Today with me, Terry Davis. And yeah, I wasn't meant to speak to you again about coronavirus or Christmas before my Christmas message, but over the weekend, vast amounts of the United Kingdom are now in the toughest measure, and even in England they had to come up with a new tier because there is a new strain of coronavirus. Who would have thought, hey? You know, considering that all viruses mutate. But anyway, on the weekend that Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer of England, becomes more popular than Britney Spears, Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and acting as the government of England, announced changes to the regulations and implemented a new tier. Tier 4. What's basically full lockdown. At the same time, the Welsh First Minister also gives 7 hours notice before a full lockdown. And everyone went into Tier 4 instead of on Christmas Eve, or actually 28th of December. Everyone went into full lockdown on Saturday night. What's really good, I haven't done my Christmas shopping because I don't get paid until after midnight tonight, like the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom, or in Wales as well. So the vast majority of people haven't done their Christmas shopping, or non-essential retail. So clothes shops, gadget stores are all closed. You can do click and collect, so at 2:30 tonight I'm going to be doing click and collect and ordering to my local Argos store. Let's hope that they've got my item in stock, because from today, there has now been, well, it's quite, I don't know, a wake-up call for Brexiteers, but there's a nice queue of lorries at the port of Dover because France are refusing to let lorries driven by drivers into France. Well, at the end of the day, the French government are also responsible for testing, so there should also be emphasis on them for putting testing in place, as well as the British. Now, just to close the ports is a bit stupid. Now, anyway, I digress. Given 7 hours notice, do I agree with lockdowns? Yes, I do, when our NHS is at pressure, but please stop lying and saying it's to spread, to stop the virus, because the virus is still there when people go back out. Actually tell them why you're locking down. You're not locking to stop the spread because the virus is still there. The virus is a living thing. It's an organism. It's still, you can lock yourself away. But the problem you've got is that our NHS, our doctors, our nurses, our hospital estates are at full capacity. And more people die because they can't access medical treatment. Be open and honest about that fact, rather than saying, lockdown, the virus be gone. The virus won't be gone. Didn't we learn this from the last 2 lockdowns, people? The virus comes back. The virus is always there. It transmits between person to person. It thrives on contact. Yeah, we know that. However, we also know that you can suppress the virus by using face masks, by using hand sanitizer, and by socially distancing. The problem we've had is that we had a local lockdown, then went into Christmas shopping mode, And everyone went into Christmas shopping mode, and people were touching each other, and shops were getting busy and rammed. And the problem then is that more people are coming into contact, breaking social distance. And the funny thing is, I got called, right, on Sunday, because I said 7 hours notice isn't enough time to plan. At the time that this was happening, my mum was actually shopping when this announcement was coming through. She said if she knew that this regulation was coming, she would have bought my Christmas presents and stuff like that. I would have too, because I was in town that day. But we didn't. It just moved straight into it. Saturday morning, you woke up to everything's fine, we're going to be relaxing measures for Christmas. Then by Saturday evening, this had all changed. The best bit about this is it's going to be very hard for police to enforce laws over Christmas. And it could put the police at risk and harm in difficult situations, says the Welsh Police Federation. Yes, I can understand this. I can understand this wholeheartedly. You know, this was transport providers weren't even given notice. But they have to give a week's notice to the government before making changes to any timetables. So they were given no notice whatsoever. So if you're a bus company today, and the vast majority of your customers have been told to stay at home, you're going to be running for about a week now up until Christmas. And remember, Christmas is coming, so people are going to be off. So even a week after Christmas, if you haven't filed your service charges, at full capacity. So a full network of timetables. But most buses are going to go empty and not going to make their money. So you're going to end up losing more money because they couldn't get, organised piss up in a brewery, basically. And I've seen calls about getting rid of the Welsh Assembly government. Well, firstly, there is no Welsh Assembly government. It's the Welsh government. Secondly, the Welsh Assembly itself was gone, sent to the history books in March of this year, and was replaced by the Welsh Parliament. I'd like you to check the referendum of 2011 that asked the Welsh people, do they want more power? And at that case, they said yes. This implementation has only just been done. Secondly, what I take great offence to is even if we got rid of the Welsh Government and the Welsh Parliament, we would still be in these lockdown measures. We will still see this. What people are kicking off about here in Wales is that the whole country has gone into a lockdown. I understand why. And I get why, because in the middle of Wales, there are no hospitals. Because the middle of Wales is a less populated area than around the edges of Wales. So up in North Wales, there are less cases. But the new strain is there. Here in South Wales, the new strain has been around for a while. I just love that, going back to England a moment, like Chris Whitty is more popular than Britney Spears with mugs. Chris Whitty, no wonder why Boris Johnson doesn't want him at press conferences that much. It's a bit like Dr. Fauci and Donald Trump, right? And today, if you've seen, President-elect Joe Biden has received his first round of the vaccine. And I believe next Monday, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will get it. And then in 2 weeks' time, they get in a second dose. What's quite fun. Not fun, but, quite different, right? Leading by example, unlike the baby-in-chief, who is currently looking at ways of martial law. What comes to my mind is that Christmas is going to be different this year. I recorded a podcast back in 2018 called Christmas for this podcast. Please go and look at it. The links are on our website. It's in series 1 and it's episode 8. And it's called Christmas. And in there I talk about, have we forgotten the true meaning of Christmas? Now, I'm going to elaborate on this in a Christmas podcast that would be coming out on Christmas Eve. But I think we have. And as I said in there, Christmas is a time for charity, a time for hope, a time for joy. I mainly talked in that podcast about doing things for poor people. But it's not only about doing things for poor people, is it really? It's also about doing things now for your local community. And the people of Swansea, where I live, there seems to be a resurgence of community spirit that we had in the summer. There are people posting on local groups. My kid has wanted to donate these toys to children who are not going to get toys on Christmas, or I want to do, if you need help for shopping, let me know, I'll go and take you out. And there's so much hope there. So maybe sometimes in this darkness that we're finding ourselves in, that we don't know what Christmas is going to look like. It's going to look like a bleak Christmas. Maybe there's hope that actually we're going to lose the commercialisation of Christmas and remember the true meaning of Christmas. There were two parents on the first Christmas Eve. And for all of you who are parents, you'll get this. You'll get what I'm going to say. That if you remember what it was like before your child was born, you had fear, the darkness. And, that fear was you didn't know what was coming. You didn't know how to react to what was coming. You've never been there before if it's your first child. So you don't know. There is fear. But then on the other hand, you've got that light. You've got the hope of the world, basically. The hope of all of your dreams and aspirations in this one child. So maybe this year for Christmas, and I'm going to elaborate more on that on the Christmas podcast, but maybe this year for Christmas, just because we can't have the PS4, the Xbox, the 15 crates of beer, the going out to the nightclubs to get pissed with my friends, to have a dance around and to act like a fool at the office Christmas party, just because we can't have this. Christmas isn't cancelled. Christmas can't be cancelled, and I also touch on that on our Christmas podcast. But and this is going to sound like a rant, but I'm fed up of hearing about Christmas being cancelled. The fact of the matter is, if you want to cancel Christmas, we need to go back a couple of thousand years, about 2, and we need to stop that birth I was just talking about in a stable in Bethlehem. Now, the last time I checked, the UK government, or any government in the world, doesn't possess time travel. Secondly, how can you cancel something that has an historical importance? Maybe people should start asking themselves, is Christmas really about the commercialisation, or is Christmas really about celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ? And we do this in many ways, by getting around a table together to have Christmas dinner. May I remind you, the whole point of Eucharist within a church is for everyone to get around a table and to share in the bread and blood of Christ, to eat and drink as a family and in communion. Wait there, but we're not religious. Does it matter? You're still celebrating the fact that that's what Christmas is about. Christ. Jesus Christ. So you can't cancel Christmas. Even if you try and outlaw Christmas. What was it? The Prime Minister wanted to outlaw Christmas a couple of weeks ago, or the Labour Party did, according to the Prime Minister. Is the Prime Minister just playing semantics? Because how can you outlaw something that, you couldn't even stop. That was the whole point of Mary and Joseph on their journey, and why they ended up in a stable, rather than, Jesus being born at home. Yes, they weren't married, but, in those days, unmarried women stoned to death, chased out of town by what I would say the police today. So you can see why, yeah? So you can't really outlaw Christmas, because every time they try to, ever so slightly, you can't. But like I said, what I take offence to is being given 7 hours notice. What I take offence to is government saying we're outlawing Christmas, or we're outlawing the celebration of Christmas. And Christmas still goes on. Easter still went on. Now, yeah, it's going to be different. But maybe sometimes difference help you find what the true meaning of the holiday is. Didn't our families and our ancestors in World War II and One, and at other different times within history, have to celebrate Christmas differently? At the end of the day, if you look at how we celebrate Christmas now compared to 20 years ago, even compared to 50 years ago, it is completely different. It has become more commercialised. So, what I'm going to say to people in lockdown is, don't worry about the commercialisation. Don't worry about the presents if you haven't got them. You can buy them on Amazon, you can get them delivered, or any other retailer online. You can get them delivered, get them to them after Christmas, because Christmas actually goes into a full month period. We start Christmas on the 25th, but it doesn't end until the end of January. So you've got time to do your Christmas shopping. In the old days, and what the church still does, is that you used to have a Christmas feast every day. From the 25th, right up until the end of January. Maybe we need to bring this back. People, I'm going to look forward to speaking to you about Christmas, but I'm going to tell you some of the lockdown regulations, or was. So the rapid spread of the new variant of coronavirus has been blamed for the introduction of strict Tier 4 mixing rules over millions of people, with harsher restrictions on mixing at Christmas in England, Scotland and Wales and other countries, are placing the UK in a travel ban. I've always wanted to live on an island. Oh wait, there, I already do. No man is an island, see? I have no idea. Now, I don't really know what to say to you today about this. I'm just in shock myself. I'm fed up of people making political out of this. I saw one person wearing a badge saying "Scrap the Assembly." The person didn't understand that the party he's supporting or wearing, or didn't know that the party isn't a political party. It's just a statement. It has no bearing whatsoever. Other people are using this to say, well, let's get rid of the democratically elected First Minister, who is democratically elected from Parliament, and also get rid of the Parliament and put that we have one person, one vote, a presidential system. Well, we don't want that, do we? Because that's when your friends become your government ministers rather than people actually elected to do the work from the people of your constituency. Do you want the London system? No, London doesn't get to decide who's in the mayor's cabinet. Neither do the people of Greater Manchester or Bristol. So at the minute, people do get a say to appoint who is in the First Minister's cabinet, because they have to be from the same political party or a member of the Welsh Parliament. Even I'm doing it now. So it's about, how do you want your electors democratically elected, or how do you want them appointed? It's also quite funny that there are members of this non-political party sitting in the Welsh Assembly, or the Welsh Parliament as it's now called, or the Senedd. So basically, maybe someone should remind them that this party is non-existent. So you cannot sit as them, you must sit as independents. There just seems to be a bit of a catch-22, and to anyone who would want to try and take the Prime Minister or First Minister's job or any role in leadership during this pandemic, may I ask you to please think about it. How would you do it? What would you do different? Could you make these life and death decisions? And every decision is a matter of life and death these days. For the First Ministers, for the Health Ministers, for doctors, for nurses. So could you make these decisions? And if you have no reservations about making these decisions, I'd probably say to you, it's not the right choice for you trying to go after these positions of high power. Because every person should have an element of human in them and should know how a decision can have ramifications across the board, and should think about the decision, even if it's a couple of moments and you've got to act. To just think like a computer without any emotion sometimes is not good. Because we're not computers. We're human beings. We need to show our emotion, be it if we're crying, if we're sad, if we're happy, if we're joyful, if we're having a very bad day and the bank are sending you braille and you wish to let this off by shouting at them. If Terry Begley is giving you some abuse because you haven't put sports scores up and you hang up on him. If you are in church celebrating communion and a big smile comes to your face after you've partaken in the Holy Sacrament. That happens a lot for me. So, again, don't be alarmed by the new regulations. Try and follow them. Remember that you're taking pressure off our doctors, our nurses, and our NHS. Also remember the virus is still there. Carry hand sanitizer, wear your face masks, socially distance. This time around, in a tier 4 lockdown, your places of worship are open. Your local parish priest is more than the person who's leading prayers. Your local parish priest is someone you can talk to about mental health. He or she is someone you can talk to about if you're struggling financially, if you're struggling, and all of these talks are confidential. They are there. The churches are open. Go to them if you need help. The church never turned their back on you. They've always been there. For years and years and years and years, probably from time immemorial. But this time around, you don't have to go through it alone. We're in our 3rd lockdown if you're in Wales or England in some parts. People, we know what to expect. We can do this. The only difference is it's Christmas. And I'm going to say something. Maybe we should have a make do and mend year rather than a commercial year. And an online shopping year. Maybe next year we all should start our shopping from June. Oh, yes. But anyway, I will see you on our Christmas Eve podcast on the 24th. And I think it's Thursday, isn't it, Christmas Eve? Yes, Thursday. And I hope you have a lovely Christmas if you're not going to join us. And remember, don't go rushing out shopping, panic buying. There's no need. And have a good day. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, please head over to iTunes, give us a rating, and leave a review.